Okay lads, so we're on page 215 of our World Graphics book, and we're going to start isometric drawing number 5 today. So I'm going to flick over here to our worksheet, and you'll see that I've already started drawing in the elevation, the plan and the end view of this shape here. So if we go over to the page on our book 215, we'll see that we're given the plan, elevation and end view. Okay, so this orthographic projection drawing is slightly more difficult than the ones that we've done in the book before. Okay, so you'll have to get a few measurements here from the plan and transfer them up to the elevation to do the whole drawing. So if we were to take the overall width of this shape here, the overall width of this shape here is 50 plus 30, because we have a radius 30 circle here, and we can see here that we have a quadrant, so it's only a quarter of that circle. And then we have a remainder left over here that we know is 20. Okay, so that's what I mean by you have to look at the plan to get some measurements in the elevation. Okay, so we'll be drawing the elevation, plan and end view, and then given them three views we'll be drawing a 3D sketch, so my freehand sketch here. So what I started with was my crow's foot as always, and then I drew the base. So I drew the base, if you see my construction lines here, just as a rectangle to start with. Okay, so I drew a rectangle with the crow's foot, and then I put it up about 10 mil, so made it into a 3D shape. So if we were talking about OnShape, we'd be extruding that. Okay, so I have that base now made, and before I cut this corner out of it, I'm just going to draw another rectangle onto that. So that would be this shaped rectangle here. So imagine if we were looking at it from the plan. So I've drawn that in it, and I've extruded it now by this height here, which is approximately 3 times the height of this. So we know that this is a measurement of 10 and this is a measurement of 30. So whatever height I have here, try to keep it proportionally about 3 times longer. Okay, and if you look at my construction lines, I've just drawn a cuboid shape there as well. Okay, so when I was left with that shape, what I did was I drew a curve here and a similar curve on the far side. So we see here that we have a radius. Now this is our first time working with radiuses in isometric drawings. So in my freehand sketch, I've just drawn a curve like this. Okay, so I don't really know what it's going to look like yet, but I want to make it look somewhat what I might imagine it to look like. So I've drawn a curve and a matching curve. Okay, and obviously I wouldn't see a line here now. And the final thing I did was cut this notch out of the shape. Okay, so all I did there was drew a line down here, a line down here, joined it from this point to this point and this point to this point to take a cut out of that shape. Now the difficult part would be to draw an isometric drawing of this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start, as I always do, with the crow's foot. Okay, so I'm going to try to start fairly low down the page here, and I know that the long length, which is this 100 mil side, is going to be going off in this direction. So this would be the 100 mil line, wouldn't it? Going off in this direction. So I want to probably start it further over to the right to leave plenty of space to project back here to the left. Okay, and I'm going to do a crow's foot here. So a line coming up here at 30 degrees. A line going over in this direction at 30 degrees. And where two of them lines meet, which is at the bottom of the shape here, I'm going to be drawing a line vertically up. Okay, so there are the 3 lines of my crow's foot. Okay, I'm going to start by doing my extrude. So we know that it comes 10 mil up off the ground, so I can measure up 10 mil here. And I'm just going to indicate that with a dot. Okay, so I have a dot there now, 10 mil up. In this direction, which is this direction here, I know that the overall depth of the shape, which I can take from the plan, is 60. So what I can do here is measure up here 60 mil. and again just indicating that with a dot. And this dimension here, which is the longest dimension here, is going to be 100. So I'm actually starting this by pretending that this notch hasn't been taken out yet. So just like what I did with the sketch. Okay, and measuring up here to the left 100 mil. Okay, so what I've done is measured up 10, measured out 60, and measured up 100. And I'm going to now move up here 10 mil and draw a parallel line with this one. And it's just going to be a construction line for now, up at 30 degrees from that point that I drew 10 mil up. And I'm going to draw another line, construction line, out to the left 10 mil up. Okay, so I should have 2 lines here and 2 lines here. Now I'm going to go up here to where I measured up 60 mil, and I'm going to draw a vertical line up. And over here to where I measured up 100 mil and draw a vertical line up as well. Okay, so what I have here now is the front surface, which is here, and I have the side surface, which is here. Okay, and to find where they meet at the back of the shape, I need to now go parallel with this line at the back over here. So that's a line going up at 30 degrees in this direction, and a line going up at 30 degrees parallel to these 2 lines here from this point here as well. Okay, and where they meet now is the back of that shape. And I can just get rid of this excess line here and a bit of excess line here as well. And we'll see that we're left with a cuboid shape that is going to be the base of the shape. Okay, so that's a good place now to build from. So I have the base now without this notch taken out. The next thing I want to do is to draw this cuboid here on top of the base surface without this curve taken out. So I want to do it before I take out the curve. So same thing again. I know that from here to here is 35 mil. Which in our drawing is from the very back corner here to here, which in our isometric is from here to here. So I'm going to measure down this line 35 mil. So this is why it's handy to have a freehand sketch drawn. So I'm just going to make a little dot there, 35 mil from here. So measure 35 mil. Okay, and I know that the width of that now, how far it goes in this direction, is 80. Okay, so I knew that as 50 plus a radius of 30, so altogether that's going to be 80. So on this line here, I'm going to measure 80 mil. Okay, so from where I measured that 80 mil, I'm going to draw a line parallel with these 2 lines and the back line, which is a line going up to the right at 30 degrees. I'm just going to draw a construction line down here like that. And from here, I'm going to draw a line coming down here like that. And we know that that's parallel with this line, and this line. So a line going up in 30 degrees in this direction. So I'm going to line it up here. And where they meet is going to give me this point here. Okay, and that point is represented by this point here in our freehand sketch, and it would be this point here in our elevation, and it would be this point here in our plan, and it would be this point here in our end view. Okay, so it's important to be able to link all these drawings together. So we know that this is a radius 30 quadrant. Okay, so it's an arc. So that means that this has to be extruded up 30 mil. So from that front corner, I'm going to measure up 30 mil and draw a vertical line. And from the top of that vertical line, a line going out to the right at 30 degrees and a line going up to the left at 30 degrees. Okay, from this back point here, I'm going vertically up. And from this point here, I'm going vertically up as well. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm drawing another cuboid now onto that top surface. And that would be the footprint of it, the first rectangle we drew, and I'm just extruding it up by 30 mil. So all the lines that I've drawn so far are going either vertically up, 30 degrees to the right, or 30 degrees to the left. Okay, so what I can do now is I can just get rid of the few excess lines. Okay, and that will just make it a small bit easier for you to see that I've drawn a cuboid now on top of that. Okay, so before we go and try to tackle that curve, which is the last thing we'll do, we're going to try to take this notch out. So that should be pretty easy. I know that from the front corner here, I have to measure back $20 and over 40 mil. So what I'm doing is measuring from this front corner back 20 mil and forward 40 mil. Okay, I'm drawing two vertical lines like that, and where them vertical lines cut the bottom section, I'll be joining them up, and where they cut the top section, I'll be joining them up as well. So from this point here, it's going to be joined up with this point, straight line, and this point here is going to be joined up with that point up there, straight line. Okay, and when I firm in them lines and make them firm, I'll be able to see that cut section a bit clearer. So the final thing here now is to try to draw this arc. Now it's a small bit tricky at first, but we'll be getting used to it. The first thing we need to do is go up to the original drawing. So this is the elevation, and this is originally where we see this arc. Okay, it's not very clear. Try to make this a bit more clear. Okay, not too bad. So this arc here we know is a quadrant. Okay, so it's a quarter of a circle. So what I want to do is I want to divide that quarter of a circle into equal parts. So I'm going to divide it into 3 equal sectors. So to do that, I'm using my 30-degree set square. So I'm going to start down here at where the center point of that arc is going to be. I'm going to draw a line up at 30 degrees, and I'm going to draw a line up at 60 degrees. So now I know that the angles created here are 30 degrees plus 30 degrees plus 30 degrees. So I've actually divided that up now equally. And I'm going to get my biro and I'm just going to call them points 0, 0.1, 0.2 and 0.3. Now essentially that's 3 points along my arc. Now I should be able to find point 0 and point 3 fairly easily, because I know point 3 is here and point 0 is up here at the top of that quadrant. So point 0 is going to be up here and point 3 is going to be there. Okay, what I don't know is where point 1 and point 2 are. Okay, so I don't know where point 1 and point 2 are along that just yet. So I have to find them. Okay, so what I do to find them is drop that distance of 1 down to this line and drop that distance of 2 down to this line as well. Okay, drop it down and drop it down so that we have all the measurements along this line here. So that's where 0 is, that's where 1 is, that's where 2 is, and that's where 3 is. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to draw point 1 onto this surface here. So I know that it's a radius of 30, so if I measure back here 30 mil and draw a vertical line up, and across like that, okay, I know that my point 0 is going to be here. But also, as you look at it from the elevation, so you're looking in this direction, you know that behind point 0 is another point on that arc. So point 0 is actually going to be here as well. We'll get to that in a second. So any point along that line we can call point 0. Point 3 then is going to be down here. So if I get this point here, point 3 is there, and at the back of it point 3 is there as well. So make sure to label them. So now I need to find point 1 and point 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure this distance between 0 and 1. So I can either measure it or I can grab it with my compass. I'm going to choose to grab it with my compass. So I'm setting my compass to this distance of 0, 1. Okay, so just that distance there between 0 and 1. I'm bringing it over to where 0 is down the bottom of my shape here and scribing it there like that. Okay, so I've scribed it along this bottom line here, which is important to remember. From that I'm going to project a line vertically up. So I know that 1 is somewhere along that line. Okay, 1 is somewhere along this line, and I have to find how high up 1 is. So I can go over here to number 1 and I can see how tall it is. So if I see that point 1 is this tall, and I go over here and I just transfer that measurement onto my drawing. So I've actually found the location now of point number 1. Okay, what about point number 2? So again, from 0 to point number 2 is going to be this distance here. So I'm just taking that distance between 0 and point number 2, and I'm going to bring it out over to 0, and I'm going to scribe it along the line there to get this point here. Again, I need to go vertically up from that and find out the height of number 2. I can do that again by bringing my compass over to the bottom line and lining it up with the height of number 2 and bringing it back and transferring it over to my drawing. That will find me point number 2. Okay, and I'm going to join them points together with a nice smooth arc like this, and I'm going to start with a construction line and once I'm happy with that arc I can go over it with a firm line. Okay, like so. So that's exactly how that arc looks in isometric view. Now I'm missing one thing. I'm missing where it goes on the back here. Okay, so if I look at the plan, I know that this is 35 mil wide. So if I got this measurement, it's 35. This is 35 mil wide all along this arc. Okay, so it doesn't get narrower, it doesn't get wider, it always stays 35. So that means that point 1 is always 35 mil away from point 1 on the other side. So what I can do there is project a line 30 degrees to the right from point 1, like so. Take that measurement of 35, which is just here like this. Okay, grab that measurement of 35 and bring it over to point 1 and scribe out here, and that'll find me point 1 on the other side of the shape. I can do the exact same with point number 2. Find point number 2 out here, and again going over that with a nice smooth curve with a construction line to start. And then going over it with a firm line. Okay. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over all of them firm lines to make my isometric shape. Okay, so I have my isometric now drawn as well. The final thing I want to do is to draw a OnShape version of that. So I'm going to move over now to OnShape. Okay, so I'm over here now and I've called this workspace isometric drawing number 5. Okay, so I'm going to start by drawing onto the top plane. I'm going to draw a rectangle. So what I've done here now is I've clicked sketch, and the first thing it's asking me is what sketch plane do I want to sketch onto. So I want to sketch onto this top plane. Okay, the next thing I want to choose a shape to draw. So I want to draw this center point rectangle. So once I've chosen that, I can move over to the center point of the workspace, click once and move away. Click again and the shape will turn blue. Okay, so a blue shape means that it's not fully defined. To fully define a shape I need to put dimensions on it. So this bottom edge is going to be 100 and this edge here is going to be 60. So just like in the drawing. And you'll see that once the whole shape turns black, it means it's fully defined. Green tick once fully defined. So I've drawn now a 2D rectangle, but we know we're making a 3D shape. So I'm going to go to extrude, and I'm extruding this face here by 10 mil. Okay, and I'll get the base of my shape here like that. Okay, so if we remember from our shape, we have a cuboid here in the back of our shape as well. Okay, so to draw that, I'm going to click on the top plane and I'm going to go sketch again. Again, it's asking me what sketch plane do you want to sketch onto. Instead of picking a plane this time, I'm going to choose this top surface. So make sure you're inside the shape here when you're choosing that top surface. Now it's asking me what shape I want to draw, and this time instead of the center rectangle, I'm going to draw a corner point rectangle. So starting from this back left corner, I'm going to click once I've chosen the corner, so it'll highlight once it's chosen, and I'm just going to drag it across here like that. And I know that that is 80 by 35. And again, turns black once it's fully defined. Green tick. I want to now extrude that, like what we did when drawing it. I want to extrude that shape by 30 mil. Green tick. So now we see that we're at the point where I have my crow's foot drawn, I have the base drawn, and I have this rectangular section drawn as well. So we're doing it just like we did in the drawing. So the next step then will be to take this notch out of here. So again, looking down the top plane, and I'm going to go sketch. What plane do I want to sketch onto? I don't want to sketch onto the top surface here. I don't want to sketch onto any plane in particular. I want to sketch onto this bottom surface here. So if you imagine the base down here. So that's what I want to sketch onto. What do I want to sketch? I want to sketch 3 lines. So choose a line. And I'm going to go over to this edge, and I'm just going to draw a pretty random triangle like that. And depending on which way you've done it, I've done it 1, 2 and 3, and I closed it. Make sure you close your triangle when you're finished drawing it. It's given me the option now of dimensioning this side here. Okay, so I want that side to be 20. But we see now that the shape is still blue, which means it's not fully defined. So I need to dimension another side of that triangle so that it's fully defined. So I've gone up to this dimension tool here, and I'm going to dimension this side here. And that is 40. So it goes all black, green tick. Okay, so that's just a sketch now drawn onto the top plane. To get rid of it, I need to go to extrude again. And we'll see that when I select that surface, it's trying to add material. Okay, we know that we're not trying to add material, we're trying to remove material. So make sure you're picking remove there now. And we'll see that it cuts into the shape this time. Again, we see that it's cutting actually too far, that it's actually not cutting material down here. It only really needs to cut the first bit of material. So you can set that now to 10 mil like this, so that it's exactly cutting through 10 mil of your material, or you can choose this and go up to next. So this is the end type. I want mine to be up to next, so the next surface is this bottom surface. It's going to cut through until it meets that surface. Green tick. Okay, so the most difficult thing in the drawing was to get this curved shape. In this, not so much. It's very, very easy. So I'm going to click this fillet tool, and I'm going to set the radius to 30, because we know it's a radius 30 circle. And I'm going to grab this corner here and click it, and we'll see that it just fillets that corner. Okay, so it puts a nice 30 radius arc on that corner. Green tick once we're finished, and that's our drawing done. Okay, so I hope you found that helpful. Let me know if you have any questions. Don't forget to share that with the team. So go to share, go to teams, and choose your second year graphics. We'll be sharing that, and I'll have it shared there for you so that you can all see it. Okay, so that's that. Let me know if you have any questions. Hope you found it helpful, and I'll talk to you later.